So I'm Michael Strong, the founder of Expanse, a virtual program where you can discover and develop your child's genius. And I'll pass it off to Matt Barnes.
Yep. Hey, I'm Matt Barnes, co-founder of The Education Game. We are a platform, blogging, podcast, and personal coaching platform for families who are looking to find a different pathway and a better pathway than a traditional school for their kids. With that, I will introduce Catherine Fraise.
Hi, my name is Catherine Fraise. I founded Workspace Education and 100 Roads, which is a research and development company for co-learning and helping families organize, create the education that they need and want for their children. And I'm going to introduce Andrew and then Chris. So, sorry, Andrew. After you, I'll introduce Chris.
All right. Hi, Andrew Sachs. I'm a founder of Noble Explorers, an international learning community where kids learn the STEM and leadership skills they need to succeed in the 21st century. And Kath, if you would introduce our guest.
Great. Well, this is absolutely my pleasure to introduce Dr. Chris Unger. Chris Unger, I met when he came to visit Workspace, and we just hit it off talking about the possibilities for reimagining what education could be. He has had a very deep involvement in education over the last, I'd say 30, 40 years in all sorts of different educational environments. Starting off, I think you did in the GSE at Harvard University. And right now you're a professor at Northeastern. At Northeastern, there's a great doctoral program for students all over the world that come in, over 1,400. And Dr. Unger teaches innovation in education and mentors a lot of these people trying to really make a difference in the world. He's had a tremendous amount of experience in education, and he's very motivated to actionize solutions to change the way education is done in this country. And also to make sure that everybody in the country gets access to what the best stuff is out there. As you know, there is great stuff out there, just not everybody gets access to that. He's also very interested in helping educators and connecting educators and people who really want to make a difference in education in the country. So welcome, Chris. I'm so happy that you're here tonight.
Thank you, Kath. And you know, I must correct you in one way.
Please
It'll
do.
be 40 years in 2024. So don't get me too far into that. I mean, it's only 3 more years to get me into 40 years, and that's, I don't know if that's extremely depressing or what, but
well, I'm sorry. I should have said next time I'll say at least 20.
Okay, 30. I mean, it's already depressing when you say 36 years in education, but I guess that's, you know, oh my goodness. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So on that note, like we have a lot of parents out there, right? Who have children and their children aren't thriving. And, you know, we're really committed to helping families find options for when school is not working in all sorts of different ways. We want to know what you recommend. What have you seen out there?
Well, I have a number of thoughts on this point, as you know. I also want to say, in some ways, we have a new puppy in our house. It's maybe 6 months old or something. Mm-hmm. Beautiful dog. And why I'm mentioning him, I'm thinking about, you know, when the dog, you know, you berate the dog for doing something wrong, and they curl the tail underneath their, you know, their body, and they, you know, the reality is, I feel personally, I feel like I didn't do right by my own kids. It's hard to say that. We moved to one of the quote unquote best school systems in the state of Massachusetts, if not the country, Newton, Massachusetts. My at least my older and middle daughter survived public education. My oldest daughter hated it. I remember picking her up as I would do on a glorious spring day in her junior year in Newton South High School. And she had pen markings. She had very short jean shorts, and she had these black and blue ink markings all over her legs. It was like a maze. And I said to her, what happened here? She said, math class. She was bored out of her mind.
Yeah.
And so I'm just being really honest here, because if you say we're talking with parents, I'm going to tell you, I do not feel like I did the right thing by my own kids.
Yeah.
It's because you didn't take it seriously enough, or you didn't.
No, no, that's not the storyline. The storyline is I'm working full time. I'm trying to change the grander scope of education. I'm at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. If I pull my kid out of school, what do I do? I mean, what do I, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit her in front of a computer screen and have her take online courses? I don't want that. That's not going to help her. She doesn't want to do that. I'm being straight up with the reason I'm being straight up with all of you who are watching this. If this is parents, I'm being straight up with you as a parent to parent here.
Yep.
I'm just being. I'm like, do I take my kid out of school? Do I homeschool my kid? What does that mean for me to homeschool my kid? Relationships, social relationships at this age, high school, huge. Do I want to disconnect her from the opportunity to connect with other kids her age? Like, how do I even figure this out? Now, I'm saying this now, 15, 20 years later. I have ideas about this, but I'm literally telling you right then and there, I did not know what to do.
So Chris, sorry to cut you off, but
Please.
Every parent I talk to feels the same. Like, there are things that they could go back. There are so many things they would do differently, but what you're getting at is this profound reliance that we have on a system that has kind of monopolized the social aspects of a kid's development, right? All the kids are in those buildings we call schools. And then there's no support for a parent to do anything else but to drop them off. So yeah, you're where.
I'm being real. Here I am. I'm at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I know what I think kids need. I know what kids, and I'm just being straight up as a parent. Like, what do I, and I literally, and okay, again, I'm being straight up with you guys. Like, she lived with me. Her mother and I were separated. She lived with me because she needed to be with me. And junior year is like, and like it's 7:30 in the morning, because that's another issue, right? Like, she has to be at school at 7:50 in the morning. Like, you need to get your ass out of bed and get to school. Which it pains me to say that. Because I'm like, but I know in my mind, I'm like, she has to get her high school degree.
Yeah.
But yet she hates school. She's going through the motions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just did not, if I knew what I knew now, which is we can get into, I would like, man, you do not, you need to get you need to get your own butt in gear. I'm talking to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and you need to do something differently. Now, I want to say to all the parents out there, I need to say this. I have spoken with so many parents who see their kids dying. It's not even dying. It's like the school is doing such a disservice to our youth. They are like
sucking the life.
Oh, they are like, there's a treadmill. There's a treadmill. Get on the treadmill and run the treadmill. Pack your bags. I'm borrowing this from a friend of mine. Pack your bags. Get your chemistry A. Get your biology A. Get your social studies A. And then, then you're on a journey. You're on a journey to where? That's my question. Where are you on a journey to? Are you, what does that mean? What does it do for you? What are you going? So anyway, you need to interrupt me because I will go on and on about how much our current system is killing kids.
So maybe I could ask you, what should kids be learning?
How would you, or doing?
Well, this is okay. So I'm going to step back a second and say, well, kids need a space, and I'm kind of high school guy, so I focus on high school. But really, kids need to figure out, like, who the hell am I? And what is this friggin' world that we're in? And how am I want to be in this world? That is like the most essential question high school students should be asking.
Let me ask a question.
Please.
Who doesn't have that question to answer?
Everybody, but nobody's helping them think about that question. I mean, maybe some parents, maybe a really great mentor or family member, but nobody in school is for the most part, helping kids think about that question, because that's not the focus of school. Who are you?
I describe our program as the conscious development of personal identity.
I mean, this is
It's great to hear you saying.
There's a great book, and Kath knows this because I mailed it to her from Amazon. Fabulous, one of my favorite books, top 5 books of all time. Pattern language, which like doesn't, anyway, the point being is there's a part of this book called a pattern language.
Got it.
And then, like, basically there's a part of the book that talks about high schools as prisons.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. And in the development, if you think about the natural development, if you think about, like, okay, it's really interesting to think about this. I'm going way out here, but you're thinking about it as like, in the natural ecosystems, you would be bringing youth into community, into meaningful work, into how you can contribute to community, how you can contribute to your larger community or society. You mentor them, you bring them into the work, side by side, shoulder by shoulder, mentoring, apprenticing. Well, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. We put them in we instead of bringing them into society, into the world, we bifurcate them. We cut them out. You are in this space in a 7-period day, in the dissected silos of math, science, and ELA and so forth, to be prepared to do something in the world, which is completely insane. Because you're not doing anything that prepares them to be actually be in the world.
Right, Chris, you got school all wrong, right? It's what we've always done, and it's what we will always do. So I think you got it. I think you missed the point.
Okay. So now, so let's, okay, we need to go back to, so I need to go off if we're talking with parents, I'm a parent. I'm a single parent. I've got 3 kids. I got a high school kid who hates going to school, which was me. Which was me.
Nobel Company update,
right?
For December, we'll start it.
What could I or should I have done? I did not know that there were other communities, other people in the world. I'm going to give it a very specific example. I'm being, and anybody can contact me and talk with me about this. I'm just being really real. I'm not trying to sell a bill of goods here. I'm being very authentic here. My youngest daughter, she suffered through high school. And now she's 25 and she still doesn't know what she wants to do. Kath, by connection through Kath, she knows a woman in Canada who actually talks with adolescents and young adults and goes through the process of saying, well, what do you like to do? What do you love to do? How could you pursue that? How can you do that? How can you do that in the real world, not necessarily in school? And literally, I literally was in the car yesterday afternoon on a drive home, dropping her off at her apartment, saying, let's have you connect with this person. What's really needed are Sherpas, life Sherpas. We need life Sherpas. We need Sherpas. We need mentors. We need.
I have a different idea.
Okay, please.
I don't think it's up to us to figure out what our purpose is. I think that what we're missing in the society as a whole is that we're actually not engaged with a team of other people on a common purpose. That if what we do is merely join in with a group of others in a supportive way where we're working on something meaningful and we're learning, we will gain purpose. And that this notion of us discovering our purpose as individuals is actually all wrong. I think we are social animals and that we belong to a pack, and what we're missing in society is this notion of togetherness and community and purpose, like to get common purpose. We've got school, we've got society, we've got culture that divides us up as individuals, and I think that's all wrong.
Okay, Andrew, I completely agree with you. But we're not creating those opportunities for youth.
Amen. Like, you want purpose? Let's get you together working with a bunch of people on something meaningful, right?
Well, meaningful to you and then meaningful to the group.
I think that I believe, and this is Andrew Sachs' theory of human development, worth all of my credentials in the area, right? I'm a BSEE and an MBA, right? I think that by doing work and doing something new, we acquire purpose, and we learn to like that thing. That people's like, oh, is this meaningful to me? Is this what you want? Actually, I think we got it wrong. I think if we start doing work as part of a group that is meaningful, we will acquire that purpose, and that's what we're missing in the world today.
Yeah, again, we don't want to go into a long quibble, but I would say that there are lots and lots and lots of groups with purpose doing work they regard as meaningful that I would never, ever adapt to. So I think we've got to have a plurality of purpose with lots of groups, but I think we need to let young people have access to lots of different groups.
So let's agree on this point, right? Is that kids are put in seats as receivers of knowledge and not actors in the world. And the most important thing we could do is give students the opportunity. And I've said this for a long time. It's like so simple. And I want to also say, Andrew, you referenced credentials and stuff. I mean, yes, I have a doctorate. I went to Harvard and all, like, this is not rocket science. It's like, it's so, you don't need to have a doctorate to understand these things. You know, you don't need, it's like, you recognize when you give some, from like so I live with my grandson, another sharing here. He's 7 years old. My 30-year-old daughter lives with me. My 7-year-old grandson lives with me. I'm doing parenthood round 2. By the way, I wasn't really expecting that, but it's awesome. All right.
You're better at it next time around, aren't you?
Well, I don't know. I would hope I am, but I'm not sure. But I mean, it's anyway. He loves playing. I mean, like probably a lot of kids, at least
Most of
males. I'm not sure what's gender specific or not. He plays Roblox. He does a lot of Minecraft. He's playing Fortnite quite a bit, and he's building things. This morning he wanted my phone. Why do you want my iPhone? Because he doesn't have his own. It's like, I just started a new world. I mean, how would you argue that you don't want your kid to build a new world?
So I want to push on that. So suppose you just let him do that for the next 10, 20 years. Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, why not let him do that? And what else does he need to do?
Okay, maybe I'm an old man here, so I'll say something that maybe is antithetical to what you're pushing on, Michael. It reminds me of, I do have a fun story, which I'll say really quickly because I just feel like I need to do it. The Sudbury Valley School, there was a story that I heard where a young man, I don't know, 12 or 13 or 14, was going to school at Sudbury Valley School, which allows you the freedom to do what you want to do, which is great. And the father at the end of the year would come to the school and say, I guess this is a good point, if I could say so myself. He says, my son, I'm kind of worried about my son. And the school would say, well, why are you worried about your son? He says, well, he's been fishing in the river for the last, 6 months. He says, well, what's wrong with that? He says, well, that's all he's doing. He's fishing in the river. And it's like, well, yeah, well, so what's wrong with that? He says, well, he's not learning all this other stuff. And it's like, well, okay, but does he like doing it? Yeah, he loves doing it. And so, okay. So the next year happened, I'm trying to fast pace this. His son is fishing in the backyard. I'm not sure I have the story exactly right, but anyway, fishes in the, for a year. And at the end of the year, his father comes back. I'm really worried about my kid. What are you worried? He says he's fishing in the backyard. It's like, well, what's wrong with that? It's like, well, that's all he's doing. It's like, well, does he like doing it? Like, he loves doing it. It's like, well, so that's great. And then halfway through the third year at the Sudbury Valley School, they got like an Apple IIe or an IBM PC or something. And he got really into like the PC and coding and stuff. The long story short is that a year later, he ended up like being a consultant to all these Route 128 high-tech development firms that were coding for people, making like $80,000 or $90,000 a year as a high school student because he loved coding.
Fair enough. And we know dozens, maybe hundreds of stories like that. I guess again, I like to be provocative. Would you say that every child that would prefer to stay at home and play games rather than go to school should be allowed to stay at home and play games rather than going to school? Or how does a parent know if my kid should stay home and play Minecraft for the next 5 years?
I'm worried about being a, I don't know. I personally would say, you can debate me. I don't have all the answers here. That's an important point, right? But even with my grandson, even if he was like really into Minecraft, I would be cognizant of like saying, hey, this dude, and forgive me for people who want to sign off right now, this guy Trump, he sucks. And let me tell you why. And let's have a conversation about it. Like,
That was one extra like I just heard.
well, the point being is, yes, I want him to go deep into things he cares about, but I also want to be cognizant of certain things, which is, I guess, up to every, parent or individual. I guess parent or whatever, or educator. It's like you want to, like there are things I want him to be aware of, be knowledgeable about in the wider world. Like, what does it mean to be a friend? That is like an important thing for me. When you play, when you play with friends, what does it mean to treat others well? How do you, there are certain things in my mind, I'm like, they're, but it's not like covering the Pythagorean theorem or like, so.
I'm delighted at that answer. Delighted. But Matt wants to get in.
All right, go for it.
Yeah. Quick. So to Michael's question about, do we just let kids kind of go feral and do whatever they want? One of the arguments that we have made is that just like every adult really needs a coach, every child needs a coach. And the coach doesn't mandate what is learned, but the coach coaches into building a broader base. So if the child is interested in fish, it's now saying, all right, what type of fish is that? And what's different between that fish and this fish? And you start to help the child kind of grow into the space of his interests. And usually it starts to branch off into any number of other areas that are completely unpredictable. But so that's one of the arguments that we talk about, that the coaching aspect of this helps a child to expand beyond just the things that they know and that they like.
This is not a small point. You said coaching. We have to pay attention to the language we use here. Teaching, learning, coaching, mentoring. This language is not a small point. And so for me, it comes into the nuance of interacting with your child. Okay, well, if we decided to put all this poison in the river so the frogs are killed because you don't like frogs, what does that mean? What do we need to think about? These are not small points, right? And so
that's a coaching conversation. That's not a teaching.
Yeah. You know what? I'm
It's a
really
relationship.
I'm really trying to get away from the notion of using teaching because of the baggage that comes with it.
Right.
I think this is one of the major issues, which we don't need to get into it now because I think we have more important issues to get into, which I'll talk about in a second. I guess I'll put it up front because I want to get to some other things before we depart tonight. I was thinking about this. Is the paradigm of school. The paradigm of school is that kids have deficits and it's our job to fix them. And that creates a certain sort of relationship, an expectation of what teachers do and what happens in the relationship between teachers and student or youth. So when we change the paradigm to who is this child? What are they interested and passionate about? And what do I do to engage this youth in a way That's going to lift them up to do some great things for themselves and for the world. Changes the context and the relationship with the person. And right now, the entire paradigm, which I don't want to get hung up on, because I want to speak to the parents specifically. It changes the paradigm from like, my kid does not know how to spell, does not know how to read, does not know how to do math, does not how to do, so I need to fix my kid. You don't need to fix your kid. Your kid is beautiful and wonderful. What do we do about the beauty and the wonder of your kid to like figure out a way that they can thrive and grow in the world? It's a complete paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And I can imagine a lot of parents kind of freaking out. I mean, what I hear you saying,
yeah, completely. That's why I want to speak. That's why I want to say something with parents. So here's what because I know we're running out of time. I definitely, so I didn't mean to be so directive here, but I'm going to be directive. I'm not usually this way, but well, I guess I actually am. But anyway, the point being is, look, if you're listening to this, so if you're listening to this, you're going, I'm stuck. I don't know what I want, what I can do. I'm worried about my kid. At the very least, if you say I'm worried about my kid, let me, you guys might not like me for this, but if you're worried about a kid, email Michael, email Matt, email Andrew, email Kath, email me, and connect. Do not think of us as people like know better and not going to talk with you. This is the main point I'm making right now in all of my work is connect with each other. We need to like reach out and say, I need help. Can you point me to this? Can you connect me with this partner? Can you connect me with this group? Can you connect me with this? Because I do not want kids dying in the vine. I remember literally sitting, I told you like 20 minutes ago, being at North Star Academy, and this woman, that's a bad way.
Mother.
Anyway, this mother in central Maine was devastated by what she saw was happening with her daughter. She moved to the Western Massachusetts so her daughter could be part of this community. I'm not suggesting that everybody has to do this, but move to this community in Western Massachusetts so her daughter could be part of a learning community that embraced her. This is not small stuff.
Yep.
This is our kids.
Yeah. I'm thinking we need to create a schools not working hotline. We can all, and our network staff. No, seriously, and let's bring millions out of the system.
So let's push it. Let's push it, Michael. I've been actually thinking for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and we all talked this earlier today about this. I think we need a parent network. We need a literal parent network so that if I'm in like rural Wisconsin and my kid is dying, she has cuts, she hates going to school, she feels like she's worthless. Like, can we create a hotline, a connection, a network? Can she connect with other parents? Say, here's my kid was there 3 years ago. This is what I did for my kid.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
We need that.
Yeah. And then part of this too is so many parents think there's something wrong with the kid or themselves. The last thing they realize is the school system is the problem.
I feel bad. I feel I'm being like, I'm all, anyway, I have all these credentials. I have all this knowledge. I talk about pushing the envelope and schooling and so forth. But I'm telling you, in reality, I'm just doing this because it's important, right? Like, I do not feel like I did the right thing for my own kids. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you straight up. Like, my youngest daughter is at a loss of what she can do. She's 25.
Yeah. So Chris, I'm thinking that, if programs like, Nobel Explorers, which teaches soft and hard skills to children as young as 8, like if they learn, how to do these meaningful projects, right, and learn the soft skills and hard skills to actually go out there and find their passion and purpose, and they do it a lot younger, like they would, by the time they get to high school, we wouldn't have these children who are failing.
But there isn't a conduit for that, Kath.
Well, Andrew's creating one, right?
Well, yeah, but we need, so we have to, instead of pointing the finger at, we need to point at ourselves. I mean, Kath, you saw that for your own children. You created a space for them to thrive in the context that you needed. But there are a lot of parents out there who are at a loss.
I know.
It's really on us to say, reach out to us.
We're all in terms of creating a network, and
absolutely.
We'll do the logistics later, but
yeah,
absolutely all in. We want to create a movement, help as many people escape as possible, as quickly as possible.
How do you create spaces that children can thrive, that aren't expensive, right? And how can you connect to other people in your area? And we have a lot of ideas about that. So
actually, one of the things I love that Chris said is basically Minecraft and conversations. Have conversations with your kid. Let him play Minecraft. It's free and better than most schools. I'm being a bit provocative, but
But the reality is, and Kath, the stuff you're doing, Kath, and you have done. I mean, we need this parent network. This is probably one of the things I think that I'm coming up from this conversation, the previous conversation, and some things I've been thinking about the last couple. Like, there are parents, like I did not. We need to figure out, like, here's the shortcoming that we have. I'm put on us. Like, how do we let parents know that we're here? That we can help them create options.
Matt's doing a great job. Sorry.
I'm playing around with, again, logos, branding. Every parent has my student is an A student at blah, blah, blah school. Maybe we need logos and stuff that says, my student escaped the system. Maybe we have our own home team, and the team is,
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is.
But the world is our school.
Yeah.
I want to go after I want to go after another group of parents too, and that is the ones the kids are succeeding, right? I think lots of times people are like, oh, school didn't work for these kids or something like that. Well, it's actually not working for any of them. We all know that, right? But I think the ones that actually I think are losing out tremendously, and they have no idea, or their kids are succeeding at this game and they're learning exactly the wrong things. You said it earlier. Like, what are they going to? How did you put it?
So I think that, yeah. So I think that's another thing that we need to think about. I guess it's really easy to say what others should do or whatever. I guess I always turn the finger on myself and say, what the fuck? It's good. What the frig can I do? Right?
Now it's an over 18 show. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, so that's a really, that I think it's incumbent of us and to, I don't know. I don't think I can take my kid, the stuff you're doing at Nobel Explorers, Andrew, I love, and what other people are creating, because I don't know if I can take my kid out of junior years. She's taking 2 AP classes. She's got straight A's. She's online. It's like, okay, what can we create that she could do in the summer?
Just a little bit on the side.
Yeah.
And sneak it in there. And sneak it in there.
Right. And I think that the most important thing, and so I'm saying this so you can kick back at me. The most important thing that I think we could do is think about offering a space where there can be conversations about how do you be, I hate using this word, but metacognitive, well, like the designing of your own life.
Well, there's a whole world of people out there doing this. I would say, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
I've got
huge
that
world.
one too.
But people are not applying it to their
People
kids. That
don't
their
know,
kids need
though.
this. These are 20.
Michael, this is the
yeah.
point. We talked about this earlier. This is the thing that I think is incumbent upon us, is that I'm in Austin, Texas, which is kind of a cool community, actually. I like Austin, Texas a lot. Yet my son is in 8th grade, doesn't want to go to school, but loves playing video games all the time. What do I do?
So Austin is a very rich set of offerings.
Well, yeah,
actually.
but they don't know that. But Michael,
awareness.
they don't know that.
There's in defense of the parent, the fear is so intense. The fear that I take my child out and I ruin them.
Right.
And in fact, it's the exact opposite that oftentimes happens. And let's also not forget that the school has created these structures that message to the family that your child's doing just fine. They're getting B's, they're getting A's. Your child's doing great. Don't change a thing, right? So the very kids that are, and again, I have one, but the very kids that are doing the best have the most barriers to actually leave because they're being rewarded, and their parents are being their parents are being lied to, essentially, that your child's doing great, they're going to have a great life, but in fact they're learning very much how to follow orders. And in this century, that sort of skill set is long gone.
Follow orders. They're learning not to engage other people. They're learning not to develop leadership and teamwork skills. Exactly. They're learning exactly the wrong things that they need to succeed in life. Exactly the wrong things. And I think that damage, like, I want to take that message to every parent and say, like, okay, let's go look at the things in this post-content world where you can find incredible amounts of things on Google and YouTube and whatever. Well, guess what? That institution that's about disseminating knowledge, they're not giving you what your kid needs to succeed. And as a matter of fact, they're actually setting them back. And the better your kid does at this game called education, right, the worse they will do in life relative to alternatives. They could, if you've done nothing at all, they would have succeeded more. And that's the crazy world.
Andrew, I would say also, just building on that, is that the couple of APs and those sort of things, if you want to, go the traditional route, you can do very, very easily outside and still have time to create your best life. Amen. Right. And to have that agency to, like, okay, I really want to do that AP, my school doesn't offer it, right? Like, you can go out there and create the academic track that you want and get your academics done in a way so you still have time for all the things that you're passionate about, or to deep dive into that thing, or to do that job, or to do that community service, or whatever talent you want to pursue. And you're in charge of your time. And that is, those skills that you can build up during high school when you're not having to get up at like 7 in the like when your biorhythm's completely out of whack as a teenager, right? When you can actually create your own structure of your life, obviously, help with helpful parents, and you can get, accountability coaching or whatever assistance you need on the side until you learn how to become self-directed. I think them practicing that in high school will mean that when they do go to their next steps, they will be much more self-directed and able to make the most of their further studies.
I agree. And Kath, what you've done and what you're thinking about is, and all of you are doing it, but I'm going to push this a thought, and just to kind of get us riled up a little bit here. Higher education has done the sell job.
Yep.
Wonderful. They've got more marketing dollars to play with than anybody else in the world. No, but right? They've done a wonderful job of controlling this entire ecosystem.
It's not about marketing, though. It's ingrained into the ecosystem. It's the social fabric. In many cases, not most, because we always forget that, in fact, 50% of the population is like, there's a certain ecosystem. The point being, what I'm trying to make is, like, there's such a friggin' narrative.
Well, let's look at Harvard. Harvard's a tax dodge with a is a hedge fund with a tax dodge attached to it.
Oh, it's
right.
it's if you go, so our job is to change the narrative.
Yep.
And we need to, that's one. And second, because I'm putting this on me. I'm like, it's easy to tell people what they should do. It's another thing to say, well, what I need to do. So I'm saying what I need to do. I'm putting us all in the same boat. So whether you want to jump ship or not, you can decide. But anyway, the point is to change the narrative. Like there's another storyline that can be played out here.
Mm-hmm.
And the end of the story is of greater value.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to capture that, and we need to harness that, and we need to, because the parents, it's hard. I mean, I'm speaking to myself.
Yep.
I did, if I knew Kath was down the road a mile away from me, I would have been happy to send my kids over to Kath's space. But it wasn't a reality. It didn't exist, for one, and two, I didn't know about it. So it's like I didn't feel like there were options. So the first thing we need to do is like let parents know there are options, and then we need to facilitate them like a travel agency about the options. We need to be like a travel agency.
Big time, big time. So what I'm envisioning is maybe, and we've talked about different variations of this, but I could have a website with Montessori and Waldorf and self-directed education and project-based learning.
That's on us to do.
Yeah. And then I would say that any school or group of schools that wants to be in our network should encourage parents to go online at our hosting website and argue with other parents and talk to other parents and have a rich, diverse conversation about different alternatives. And it should be the norm that parents should be discussing which alternatives. And I would say eventually I'd love to ostracize schools that don't talk about other alternatives.
Well, that's the one key thing which we probably don't have time to get into, right? Is like, I want to figure out so that's great. The next thing that we need to figure out, which is probably for another time or place or whatever, is how do we build that into the system?
Well, again, I would say every school, maybe we could get a law passed somewhere that says you have to present students or parents with a full range of option. Maybe a parent educational.
Well, it's not. I'm just saying. I'm going to say this just because it's important for us not just to dream, but to think about what we can manifest and what we can manifest in reality. I'm just, we'll leave it here because I know we're running out of time. But I know, for example, the Virtual Learning Academy Charter School in New Hampshire, VLAX. They've got, I don't know how many they got, over 50,000 high school students now taking courses with them. And how did that happen? Well, the state, any kid in New Hampshire can go take classes, and they're pushing the envelope. I won't get into it too much now. It's not like online courses, but they're doing projects in communities and they're doing other things, right? Any student in New Hampshire can attend or take classes and be part of the VLAX system for free. And the reason people don't hate them is because, unlike most charter schools where everybody gets pissed off that public monies are being drained from their local public schools to the charter school, the state completely pays for everything.
Very cool.
So that's what I think. I think we need to get really smart and savvy about how to figure out a way to do what we're talking about right now.
Yep.
But using public monies, that is, to me, is the key.
Yeah. Just one of my pet peeves, I just found out there in New Jersey Special Services District which spends more than $100,000 per pupil. And they're just thinking, well, I could do a great job with any kid for way less than that. Way less than that.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it comes actually. That's another. We can go into another conversation. I think it comes down. And the point is that if you get rid of the focus on seat time and you allow for the flexibilities that we're kind of talking about, we could spend half as much money.
Oh my
Big
gosh.
time, big time.
It's so much more, so much cheaper. Yeah.
I'm going to be our time conscience just because I'm tempted to go into these issues full bore with you, Chris.
Yeah.
And it is time.
It is time, but I know you're going to cut me off, but if this is for parents, I'm telling you, I have been, and I still, it weighs on me. Reach out to us.
Yep. Well, we're going to rope you in full on, Chris. We're all aligned in terms of we need to liberate millions of kids. And yeah, thanks, Kath, for dragging Chris into the mix. We will be back at you soon, Chris. So
thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks
for coming tonight.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care.